Okay, so we continue with involuntary actions involving skeletal muscles. Before this, we learned about voluntary action involving skeletal muscles, right? Such as when you answer the question, right? That's for the voluntary action. But this one, involuntary actions involving skeletal muscles. So in this case, this one also involuntary actions, but this one not involve the hypothalamus or involve the medulla oblongata, because this one in the brain, but this one involve the spinal cord. Okay, that means the impulse will not be sent to the brain, just sent to the spinal cord only. So this one you must remember for these involuntary actions, the action also known as reflex response. So reflex response, you must remember, involve the spinal cord. Reflex usually fast. So that's why the impulse will be sent to the spinal cord only. Okay, not to the brain. Okay, so this one that means not involve the hypothalamus, not involve the medulla oblongata, because these two also involve in involuntary action, right? But for this one but for these two not involve the skeletal muscle. They involve the smooth muscle and glands. Okay, but for this one, the skeletal muscle, involving the skeletal muscle, so we have the reflex response. Okay, controlled by the spinal cord. So the first one, we have the 3-neuron reflex arc. Several situations require immediate and spontaneous actions. So this one for the immediate, for the fast action. Okay, if you accidentally prick your finger on a sharp pin, you will move your finger immediately without much thought. So you will not think about it. When you prick your finger on a sharp pin, you will automatically withdraw your hand from the pin, right? Okay, so this one we don't have to think what we have to do, just automatically will occur. Okay, so this is known as a reflex action. Okay, if reflex action is fast response, a stimulus without being controlled by the brain. So without being controlled by the brain. Okay, so this one, the nerve pathway involved in a reflex action is called the reflex arc. Reflex action is moving the finger from the sharp pin, involve the 3 neurons, and communication between the neuron is the peripheral nervous system and the spinal cord. Okay, so these are the characteristics. First, very fast, and then without being controlled by the brain. Okay, and then communication between the neurons in the peripheral nervous system and the spinal cord. So these are the characteristics of the reflex action. So the nerve pathway known as reflex arc. So what is reflex arc? This one. This is known as the reflex arc. Okay. This diagram here is known as the reflex arc. Sometimes you have to draw the diagram of this reflex arc, or you have to label lah. Okay, so we start with one for the explanation. Okay, so when a finger, number one, when a finger is pricked by a sharp pin, the sensory receptor detects the stimulus and triggers a nerve impulse. So this one, number one, pin. Okay, so prick. This one actually our finger lah. Okay, our finger's receptor. Okay, so, detect by the sensory receptor, stimulus and trigger the nerve impulse. So the nerve impulse then transmitted along the sensory neuron to the spinal cord. So this one, sensory neuron will send the impulse to the spinal cord. Okay, through the sensory neuron lah. Okay, and then enter the spinal cord. Okay, in spinal cord, the nerve impulse is transferred from the sensory neuron through the synapse of the relay neuron. So remember, we have the synapse here. So the impulse will be passed through the from the sensory neuron to the relay neuron. Okay, and then number 4, from the relay neuron, the nerve impulse is transferred to the motor neuron. So then it will transfer to the motor neuron. Okay, motor neuron. Okay, number 4. And then the motor neuron transfer the nerve impulse from the spinal cord to the effector so that the finger can be moved quickly. So then the impulse will be flow here to the effector. So this one is very fast. So that means the impulse will not reach our brain. Okay, from the receptor go to the produce the impulse, and then go to the sensory neuron. So the neuron will carry the impulse to the spinal cord, and then from the spinal cord the impulse will be flow to the relay neuron, right? Okay, and suffer from the neuron to the relay neuron, and then to the motor neuron, then to the effector. Okay, the keyword here, the impulse will reach the spinal cords. Okay, so same, the movement of the transmission of the impulse same from the sensory neuron, relay neuron, and also to the motor neuron, then to the effector. Okay, so the importance of the reflex action. What is the importance of the reflex actions? Okay, the importance of reflex actions produce spontaneous response without waiting for instruction from the brain, because they want spontaneous, faster. Okay, faster reaction. Okay, the additional time that is needed by the brain to analyze information before triggering a response can lead to serious injury. So if the impulse sent to the brain, so the brain will take time to think what to do. Okay, so this will we have the additional time lah. We will use more time, okay, to interpret what I have to do and so on. So then can lead to serious injury. So this one can lead to serious injury. Maybe when you if you late withdraw your hand, so the withdraw your fingers, so the fingers will be bleeding and so on. Can cause injury lah. Okay, so since reflection involves the spinal cord, the brain can focus on higher level thinking. So that means this actually one way to make sure that we can focus on a higher level thinking, because brain have to do a lot of things. So that's why spinal cord actually help the brain to control the reflex action. So the brain can focus on higher level thinking. So that is the importance of the reflex action. So another one that we have here is the 2 neuron reflex arcs. 2 neuron. This one 3 neurons. Okay, the first one. This one 3 neurons. Reflex action 3 neurons. Reflex action. Okay, involve 3 neurons. 3 neurons. That means sensory neuron, and then involve relay neuron, and then involve the motor neuron. This one is 3 neurons. Reflex arc involve 3 neurons. Okay, but now we want to the 2 neuron. Okay, we have an action that involve only 2 neuron reflex arc. Another reflex action is the knee jerk or patellar reflex. Okay, knee jerk. Reflex is use the nerve pathway that involve 2 neurons, that is the sensory neuron and motor neuron only. So this one involve only sensory neuron and motor neuron. Relay neuron not involved. Okay, the doctor sometimes test the effectiveness of someone's nerve system by tapping on the knee using a rubber hammer. This one maybe we can do later, but because the lab is closed right now, right? So we maybe lah if I have time. Okay, so how the doctor testing knee jerk reflex? This one when the tendon below the kneecap is knocked, the quadricep muscle stretch and stimulates the stretch receptors to trigger nerve impulse. So when we knock this tendon below the kneecap, so the quadricep muscle will stretch, and we have the stretch receptor here. We detect the stimulus and then trigger the nerve impulse. Then send to the sensory neuron. Okay, here sensory neuron. So sensory neuron transmits the nerve impulse to the motor neuron in the spinal cord. So this one, sensory neuron transmit the impulse and then go to the motor neuron, directly to the motor neuron. Okay, we have number 1 here, number 2, and then number 3 here. We have the motor neuron. Okay. So what happened? The motor neuron then transmit impulse from the spinal cord to the quadriceps muscle. So here, motor neuron will then send impulse to the back to the quadriceps muscles, and then the quadriceps muscles, number 4, contract, causing the leg to jerk to the front. So leg jerks forward. Legs will move forward lah, like that. This one automatically if you knock on the tendon here, below the kneecap, you must not here, will not this action will not occur. So you must not at the tendon here, because you have the quadriceps muscle that have the stretch receptor that we can detect the stimulus and then send the impulse to the sensory neuron. Then the sensory neuron will send impulse to the motor neuron at the spinal cord here, and then from motor neuron the impulse will be sent back to the quadriceps muscle. So the quadriceps muscle will be jerks forward, will move forward. This is how doctor testing lah. If the leg will not forward or jerks forward means something wrong lah with your neurons. So this is the important time when the doctor want to test the effectiveness of someone's nerve system. Can detect. So if normal, usually this one will be move. Okay, move forwards. Okay, later we can, maybe if you have time, we can test lah for this one. Okay, so this one is for example of the reflex arc in knee jerks involving 2 neurons. So involving 2 neurons mean not involve any relay neuron in this reaction. Okay. Okay. So these are the reflex action lah. Okay, reflex action. So reflex actions have to involve 3 neuron and also involve 2 neuron reflex. And later maybe you have to draw lah, for the draw a reflex arc. You have to draw this one, maybe you label. The important here is you must understand that the neuron that involved. For the first one, the reflex action there, the 3 neuron must involve the 3 neurons lah. Okay, 3 neurons, and then this one involve just 2 neurons. Okay, that's all.